Donald Trump and his defense blast Judge Juan Merchan for denying their request to dismiss this case based on presidential immunity, or at least to postpone this pending the Supreme Court's decision on the immunity issue. And so we're going to take a look at what the defense said when they sent this into Merchan. They said, basically, you relied on the wrong rules. The rules say we can bring this up. Your deadline excuse as to why you denied this in the first place is all not proper. It's bad judging, right? Your opinion is invalid. So we'll see what they say. We'll hear from a juror who is not going to be on the panel, so an excused juror. But Trump came out on day 3 of the trial, and he had this to say. You see, he walked out with a big stack of papers, and he's going to explain to us what's going on in this ridiculous show trial event.
But I've been here all day on a trial that really is a very unfair trial. These are all stories. This is over the last few days from legal experts. This is Wall Street Journal editorial. But all of these are stories from legal experts saying how this is not a case. The case is ridiculous. This is another one. The case is a ridiculous Trump indictment. It's missing fraud. There is no fraud. All of these stories are stories of how, and these are done by the experts and editorials. Bragg falsified business record, and he falsifies them. He's the one. He's the fraud. But take a look at all of these. Our stories, you see them here. Bragg's indictment even falls as an indictment. All of them. Bragg crosses the Rubicon, indicting Trump on nonsense.
Yeah, it's nonsense, and they did cross a Rubicon, so we hope they know what they're doing, but we're not sure they do. Now, let me just share this with you. Some time ago, we read Trump's pre-motion letter to really dismiss the case. April 15th is when this got sent in, and of course, the dockets are all delayed. We're getting this actually directly from Todd Blanche at blanchlaw.com, but that's because the court is not publishing this stuff, and the defense has even asked them to publish this stuff, and they won't do it. The judge is like, well, it's close enough. You have enough access that you come into the courtroom and, transcribe it with your hand if you want to. So anyways, now when I first opened this, I don't know if anybody else caught this, but man, you remember the crack that the judge had about these one-page pre-motion letters, right? So they're limited. And the judge said, your font seems to get a little bit smaller every time you submit these. Well, I opened this one up and look at these margins, man. Look at those margins. That's like a college scandal, Shout out to Todd Blanche, man. I really appreciate the bravado on that one. Here's what he said. He said, "Dear Judge Merchan, I hope you enjoy my very densely packed letter. We respectfully, so-called, submit this pre-motion letter as discussed to a prior jury to jury selection on April 15th regarding our evidentiary objection to Bragg offering evidence about Trump's official acts." Remember, Donald Trump was president at every time that there was an alleged crime. In this case, the actual criminal charges are about invoices, ledger entries, and checks that were all written from in the year 2017. Trump took office in January, wrote the first check in February. So that was an official act. Whether or not, they like that, they're saying Trump was the president and he was doing things as the president. And so it's an official act to deal with it. So they say, okay, based on that, he needs to have a lawyer as the president and a personal lawyer wrapping up his affairs as the president. So that's what Michael Cohen was doing. And that means that those official acts are protected. So, and covered by presidential immunity. So it would be an extension of that concept. And so they said, look, Your Honor, we asked you to hold off on this trial while the Supreme Court is reviewing this. And for the reasons stated previously, they say President Trump is entitled to immunity from prosecution for his official acts. It's the same concept we're talking about in the J6 case. Says the D.C. Circuit in Blassingame versus Trump from 2023, the D.C. Circuit instructed a trial court in a civil case to distinguish between official acts and private acts. What's official, what's private? What's protected by immunity and what's not? Well, the difficulty, though, of meting out that distinction in some situations then cannot justify simply giving up the enterprise altogether. Like, just because it's hard to do that doesn't mean you don't do it. Similarly, when interpreting an analogous doctrine of legislative immunity, so like Congress has immunity, SCOTUS characterized an official act like a congressman's speech as inadmissible evidence at trial. That also involves proof of non-official acts. So the bulk of the evidence in that case did not present a substantial question about the exclusion, and evidence of congressional speech was a constitutional problem, and it should have been precluded at trial because it's protected. You can't introduce it as evidence against somebody because it's protected. That's what immunity is. You get to say those things. You don't get to turn around and use some congressperson's speech against them in criminal charges, right? That's their job, is to speak. So in United States versus Brewster, the Supreme Court characterized that prior case as a unanimous holding that a member of Congress may be prosecuted under a criminal statute provided that the government's case does not rely on legislative acts or the motivation for legislative acts, right? So things that are in alignment with legislation. They say that logic's pretty clear. If you take it from Johnson and Brewster and you apply it under analogous circumstances when it applies to the president, that also requires preclusion. Anything that's official can't come in, right? Just like Congress has immunity, you can't use the things that they do that are protected against them. That's what immunity is. Now, specifically, the court should preclude the executive branch personnel public financial disclosure report that Trump submitted to the Office of Government Ethics. So they're going through specific exhibits now. So the people have Exhibit 81. They say that should not be allowed. The 2018 social media post to Twitter that President Trump used at the time, those are official acts. Don't use Trump's tweets. Any witness testimony about Trump's official acts during his first term, like testimony by White House staff, right? Those are official acts with Trump. That's his administration. So for example, the DC court in another case said if an activity is organized and promoted by the official White House channels, it's more likely it's presidential. It's official. The Twitter account is one of the White House's main vehicles. So you don't get to talk about that. Those are his official acts. Those are immune. At least we think they are until SCOTUS settles this for us. In other words, they say there was a clear nexus between the congressman answering a reporter's questions about the congressman's personal life and his ability to carry out his duties, right? His personal life kind of impacts his ability to get stuff done. Now, finally, there is no procedural impediment to this application. On April 3rd, the court denied Trump's immunity motion. They called it untimely. Remember, the left was very excited about that. I didn't even file it in time. What kind of legal team does Trump have? They said, Judge, idiot, you said that it was untimely based on CPL 255.20. Wrong. They say, if you read that provision is limited to pre-trial motions, which as defined under the law, doesn't apply to motions to preclude evidence. We can file those anytime, Judge. So thanks for digging in and trying to come up with some justification for saying it was untimely, but it doesn't apply to motions like this. Moreover, Trump was not required to raise this objection prior to trial. He's not required to do it. Remember, the judge said you could have brought it up then. And so now you're bringing it up now. It's too close to trial. I'm not going to let you. Trump decided to file this one after the Supreme Court granted certiorari. Supreme Court's higher than you, even though you think you're a Supreme Court judge because you name yourselves that, because in New York they identify that way. The low-level judges are like, I identify as a Supreme Court justice. But in any event, the historical significance of this issue and the fact that it is under consideration by the Supreme Court warrants the court exercising discretion to address the objection on the merits or purposes of necessary appellate review. In other words, even though you denied us on this one, you still got to address this, okay? Because we're going to be appealing it. We have immunity, as we say, and you should have not ever had this trial start in the first place. So even though you denied us, we're still filing this stuff, and we're making a record signed by Todd Blanche, who did an excellent job. I think he could have fit another sentence in here, just kind of a punk about it. Thank you for your attention to this matter, something in there, and just period that right there. We'll see if he hits that next time. But outstanding filing. I mean, this one's excellent. Look at this one. He covered the whole thing here. Every stinking white page piece of paper on here, he is cramming in there. So I'm sure the judge is just not happy about that. He opened this up. He's like, look at these margins. Todd! I can feel it. I know he's not happy about that. So shout out to Todd, Point Todd, Judge Mercon, Democrat judge with Democrat daughter 0. All right, now we have that. Let's see what the actual scenery was like. This is an excused juror who excused herself, which may actually have been somebody who was good for Trump. I haven't listened to it. We'll listen to it together. But she said a dismissed Trump juror, this came over from our friends at the Post Millennial, says that she spoke to other jurors about the case and they feel the duty. So we'll listen to some of this. Here's what it sounded like outside the courtroom today, day 3.
I do. This is Kat. She runs a VC fund here in Manhattan for folks that are over 60 years of age. She was just dismissed as a potential juror. What happened? Why were you dismissed?
Because I couldn't be impartial.
You couldn't be impartial. So when the judge asked that hand, can you be impartial? You raised your hand and you said you cannot.
Exactly.
Wow. When did you first come?
On Tuesday.
On Tuesday. And at that point, when did you realize that this was a trial involving the ex-president of the United States, Donald Trump?
So we're here on Tuesday from 9 a.m.
Ex-president?
Yeah. But we realized that it's about this case on 4 p.m. We went into the courtroom and we saw Donald Trump.
You went into the courtroom at 4 p.m. on Tuesday
exactly.
and you see Donald Trump.
Yeah, we didn't know before that.
What was your first thought?
I was shocked. I was sitting on the second row, like 6 feet away. And when I realized that Trump is there, I was like, oh, wow. I couldn't believe it.
What about the people around you?
Everybody was shocked. Everybody was frozen.
That's a big deal.
No, like frozen, no expressions, nothing. We were all,
Did he look back at at you? Did any of the attorneys look back at you at that time?
Sometimes Trump would turn his head,
Yeah.
but that was it, yeah. He didn't stand up or anything.
Were you following the case before this?
I didn't really. I'm too busy.
You're too busy, but you knew he was on trial, or you knew he was going to trial.
Yeah, it's just the headlines, but yeah, too busy to read the details.
Have you ever served as a juror before?
No, that's my first time because I just became a citizen in August.
Yeah.
That was my first call. And that
So
was,
you just became a citizen of the United States, so that means you've never voted in a presidential election.
Exactly.
You get called to be a juror, and this is the jury that you are called to.
Yes.
What was your impression of Donald Trump when you saw him?
I think that actually bodes well for Trump, right? If she would have been on the juror, right? Someone who's not a native New Yorker's got to be better than a native New Yorker.
You know, he looked less orange, definitely, like more yellowish.
Yeah, because you didn't have your stupid news media adjusting the tint on their TVs, right? They weren't adjusting the screens to make him look like the orange Cheeto so they could all go make fun of him.
Nothing else
like a
than
normal
that.
guy.
He
Weird.
he doesn't look angry, or I think he looks bored. Like he wants this to finish.
Yeah, he's got
and
a
go
campaign to run.
Do his stuff. That's how
He's got a country to run.
Did
He
you
looks
have any
good.
discussions with other jurors when you left the room about kind of how huge this case was, how
Yes.
historic it was going to be?
Yeah, everybody.
What
yeah,
were they saying? What were you guys talking about?
About this? It's a historical case, and you know this is going to define so many things. But at the same time, our job as a juror, right, is to be impartial, like to be unbiased. So it was, you know,
So hopefully why couldn't you
weird,
do it?
like the whole
what's going
atmosphere, like you know,
Why
such
did
an
you raise your
important,
hand?
important case at the same time.
Did you talk to anybody that really wanted to serve in that jury?
That anybody that they wanted
Any of
to
the
serve?
other jurors that
yes.
you spoke to? Were there people that said, I want to do this, I want to serve on this jury, I want to be a part of this? Did anybody
No,
voice
but
that
they
you?
feel the duty, definitely.
They feel the duty.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's how it.
Did you feel that duty as being a new citizen of this country? Was there a part of you that said, I want to serve?
I feel the duty, yeah. I'm a citizen, yeah, and I have responsibilities, right?
Yeah.
Of
That's
course,
right.
I feel the duty.
We do.
Yeah.
That's right. We do have responsibilities. That's right. We do.
Does this make you want to follow this case even more?
Not really.
No?
No.
Wow. Well, Kat, I'm so thankful that you took the time to talk to us.
Ask her
and
a
I
question.
wish you
How
the
come
best of
you're
luck.
not-
Thank you.
Quite a moment as your
It is.
first time serving
Yeah.
Did I
in the
miss
jury
that?
and being
Makes a
new
good
citizen
story.
of this country. It makes for a very good story.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Jasmine, I have a
Thanks.
question before you let Kat go.
Yeah,
I'm
okay,
just
yeah,
curious. She talks about this sense of duty, but
She's here,
it was
she's here.
also
I'm here.
in part her duty, right, to be very honest, and she couldn't be impartial, she felt.
Yeah.
Right.
And given she's spoken with others who were around her, does she get a sense that there will be a jury that can be fair and impartial selected at the end of the day?
I'm not sure about that.
Oh,
Really, why?
You know, everybody has biases and, you know, stereotypes
Yeah.
in their mind. So you have to be a really, you know, deep and, you know, fair person, which is very hard to do, right?
Yeah.
In order to serve as a jury. I hope
Yeah.
they do. I mean, this is justice, right?
yeah. No, it's not. You're right. No.
I hope they do, yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Kat.
Yeah, hey, brilliant. Honestly, this woman seems very competent, and she's quite frankly, you know, too good for this ridiculous garbage crap case that they're bringing. You know, welcome to America. You're right. We do have a responsibility. She recused herself. Apparently, we don't even know why, as far as I could tell. I couldn't even glean from that unless I missed it, but was clear that she doesn't think it's going to be fair and impartial. Why? Because it's a political prosecution. It's the whole nature of the charge is unfair. And she could just walk in there, feel the energy, and of course, you know, she tells the truth. So welcome to America. We're great to have her. More sense than most of the rest of the city, evidently, recognizes what's going on here and is not going to be a part of it. So shout out to that woman. Of course, we're going to see who else actually made it onto the panel in our next segment. And so we'll see you there, my friends. But thank you for subscribing wherever it is you're watching this. Thanks for pausing, liking this video, inviting a friend or family member to come over here and join us when we go through this case, because there is a lot to unpack. And as we can see, there's a lot that they're not sharing with us about Trump's objections and the various filings that are happening behind the scenes. So thanks for inviting someone to come on over here. It's a great way for our channel to reach new people because we know the algorithm doesn't serve us up. So thanks for doing that. We also have some great links in our description below. We have a members only community at watchingthewatchers.locals.com where we do streams in the morning, streams on Saturday, and after parties after the live shows. We'd love to have you come join us. We'll see you back there and back here on the next one.